wars, fan fiction, and controversial fan art. Is it canon? Does it matter? These questions, comments, and concerns will be answered on tonight's episode of A Queer is Talking. Hey guys, I'm doing a new show. I know what you're thinking. Girl, this channel's all over the place. Yes, it is. I'm doing pretty much anything that I want because who cares? This is a variety channel. And today is the first episode of A Queer is Talking. This is the show where I, a queer, talk about gay stuff. Okay? So today we will be discussing Fanon queer ships and why they make straight people and self-hating gays so angry. Fandom has been around forever. And as someone who has been in fandom spaces for a very long time, I have to say something about fandom spaces that kind of irritates me is when straight people try to dictate what people discuss and how people feel about the fandom that they're in. Don't get me wrong, there are times where people in fandom do some really gross, messed up stuff. Like, obviously, we are not going to support anybody who is supporting any sort of shipping a child with an adult. Like, that's wrong always. Like, I don't care what anyone says. That's gross. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we are talking about adult human ships. People get really upset when you ship their two favorite characters together and they're not exactly queer. It happens all the time. It's been happening for decades, really, because queer people didn't always see themselves in the media, so we had to make space for ourselves. And that often came in the form of deciding that two characters from a film or a comic or a TV show or a book who aren't exactly canon queer, we just make them so. You know what I mean? And we're just like, these two, they have chemistry. What if they kissed? You know what I mean? What if they kissed a little bit, maybe on the lips, perhaps? And we just always have been that way. We've always done that. Sometimes we see ourselves in these queer characters, and it's sort of like a fantasy realized in a way, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's fine. Straight people do the same thing. Like, that's the thing. It doesn't matter if you're gay or if you're straight. Like, we all have ships that we know are probably never going to be canon, or ships from film or television shows that have since passed, so obviously it's never going to be canon, but we in our heads are just like, no, those motherfuckers are kissing, okay? And I don't think there's anything weird about that. I hate that people make it weird when it's really not. It's also kind of easy to do when the actors themselves have a lot of chemistry, when the actors have chemistry, when the characters have that chemistry where you're like, I want to see them kiss. I want to see them kiss. It's often not even our fault. Like, sometimes these shows and these movies, they play into it. They know exactly what they're doing. That's the reason why the term queerbait exists. But there are so many ships that I can personally recall shipping, or I remember seeing people, or to this day, seeing people talk about these ships. And a lot of people get very upset when you do this. And I think that's weird. Like, let people do what they want. Let us ship our Fanon ships, okay? It's not our fault that they acted so gay on TV. Jane and Mara from Rizzolian Isles, Emma and Regina from Once Upon a Time, Rachel and Quinn from Glee, Magneto and Professor X from X-Men, Kara and Lena from Supergirl, and of course the iconic Buck and Eddie from 911. These are all Fanon ships that are not exactly canon, but absolutely should have been or could still be, that we all know and love. And there are many, many more that I could add to that list, but that's just an example of a few. Like, the thing is, with these couples, with these Fanon couples, everyone that I just named, if you watch the movie or the TV show or whatever that these folks are from, and you try to tell me that you don't see the chemistry, you don't see the tension, whether that's sexual or otherwise, you're joking. You're a jokester. You're kidding yourself. Like, come on, be serious. You know what I mean? I was never like a huge shipper when it came to Kara and Lena from Supergirl, but I could see it. I could see, I wasn't a big fan of the show, but I could see what the fans were seeing. You know what I mean? Like, I saw the chemistry between the two actresses. I saw the chemistry between the characters. It made sense to me. And honestly, I thought it was like a really brilliant idea. We got a lot of tension between
Lex and Clark all throughout every iteration of Superman. But the thing is that I really, really love Lex and Clark as a friendship, but I also understand why people ship them, especially the Lex and Clark from Smallville. I mean, once Clark is out of high school, because obviously he's a teenager when he's in high school, and that's like gross. But when their friendship starts to splinter, you can really feel that tension, and a lot of people took it to be sexual and are just like, "Ooh, what's gonna happen? Are they gonna kiss?" And it's always kind of been a joke, even with the newest Superman movie. Like, people are always joking about how Lex is actually just in love with Clark, and that's the reason why he's his like arch nemesis. And it makes sense. I mean, he made a baby. He made a baby with their DNA. If that ain't some gay shit, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't know what to tell you. Like, that's some gay shit right there. And so it's funny seeing people for years ship Clark with Lex and then see people ship Kara with Lena Luthor. Like, I mean, the jokes write themselves. Like, I thought it was fun. I never had a problem with it. Like, it's cool. To me, it's cool. And then when you think about, if you are an elder millennial, even you might be younger, you might be Gen X, you might be older. I don't know, but the show Rizzoli and Isles killed me. It killed me because the queer baiting it was supernatural. And I'm not going to get into the queer baiting on the show Supernatural, because the fans of that show, they know what I'm talking about. But Rizzoli and Isles was out of this world when it came to like the sexual tension between the two characters. Like, they're best friends. One's a cop, one's a doctor. They're solving crimes together. Like, they always end the night together. It's just like the way the characters were built and the way they played off of each other. It's just like, why aren't you kissing? Why aren't you going to kiss? That doesn't make any sense. And it actually caused a lot of outrage within the fan base, because it just made so much sense for those characters to end up together. You know, they even did an episode where Jane Rizzoli went undercover as a gay woman in a gay bar. I'm just like, come on, what are we doing? Why are you doing this to us? You know what I mean? Like, it's so upsetting, and I don't even want, if I start talking about Buck and Eddie from 911, we're gonna be here all day. We're gonna be here all day long. Like, it's an ongoing thing. The show is still on the air, unlike the other shows that I mentioned. This show is still currently on the air, and the season 9 is premiering soon, pretty soon, within a couple of weeks, I believe. The thing is, though, that is a ship that I personally myself also I ship. Some of these ships that I named, you know, like Kara and Lena, or Rachel and Quinn from Glee, I didn't necessarily ship. I wasn't super into, but I wasn't against either. I was like, hey, I'm rocking with it. I'm here for it. You know what I mean? But when it comes to Buck and Eddie, the Buck and Eddie of it all, I mean, it might be the most devastating example on this list. Like, seriously, I know, once again, I know Supernatural fans are going to disagree with me, and feel free. But it's like a repeat of what happened with Supernatural, from what I've read, from what I've heard fans of Supernatural tell me, because I never actually watched the show. But it seems like history is repeating itself, and it's weird because 911 actually took the first step and made Buck bi, which, when that happened, I was like, oh shit, because I truly, at that point in the show, I never expected that they would ever actually make Buddy canon. Like, I had, at that point in the series, I had accepted that Buddy was Fanon, and it was just going to be a fandom ship, and we were just going to be over the top and extra with it until the end of time, and that's what it was going to be. But the moment they made Buck bi, I was like, what's happening? What's going on? What are we doing? Like, literally, what's going on? Why did you do that? Like, why did you do that? If not to ease us in to Buddy, you know? And I'm not saying it's not a possibility still. I'm at the point now where I'm just like, I'll believe it when I see it. Like, it makes 100% sense, and I think that they don't really have a choice at this point but to put those two together. But because the show is run by people who hate their fans, I'm still trying not to hold my breath too much, you know? But that ship is a lot. It's a lot, and it's it also comes down to a lot of the times people being concerned about like what the actors want to. Like a lot of people will tell you that the reason Buck and Eddie hasn't happened yet is because Ryan Guzman, who plays Eddie, doesn't want his character to be gay. Now Ryan Guzman has played queer characters before, so people use that argument to say, well, like that doesn't mean he's against it, and he's never outright said he's against it. But Ryan Guzman also does have kind of a history of like racism and a little bit of homophobia, I believe, a little bit of transphobia, I believe, which is not great. So it wouldn't exactly shock me if he didn't want his character to be queer. It wouldn't shock me at all. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying it would not surprise me. And a lot of the time when fanon ships don't go canon, a lot of people assume that it's because like the actors didn't want to do it. The actors didn't want to play gay. Like a lot of people assume that Angie Harmon just didn't want her character to be queer on Rizzoli and Isles, and that's why Jane and Mara never actually got together. Maybe the showrunner was into it. Maybe the writers were into it, but she was just like, hard stop. No, I'm not doing it. Now I don't know if that's true. I just remember from being on the message boards and stuff back then, on the forums, as to what a lot of people were speculating was that she was a little bit more conservative in real life. And so she actually wasn't really interested in playing a queer character at all. I remember a similar controversy when it came to Once Upon a Time, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, because it's been a really long time since I've watched Once Upon a Time. I actually just started my rewatch of Once Upon a Time. I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong once again, because my memory could be a little bit fuzzy. It's been a long time since this show was on the air, but I remember when this show was on the air, a lot of people were saying that the actress who played Regina was like all for like the, fan intake of her character with, Emma on the show being in a relationship. I think she kind of like, teased a little bit that she would be cool with it. But I remember people saying that the actress who played Emma, Jennifer Morrison, was not interested in doing that. Now, once again, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to put words into Jennifer Morrison's mouth at all. I don't really know anything about her as an actor. I just remember a lot of people were speculating like, well, if Lana's cool with it, then it must be Jennifer who doesn't want to do it. But we also have to remember that a lot of the time it's not up to the actors what happens with their characters. You know what I mean? Like it's not necessarily always going to be their choice whether their character does this or that and the third. Like it's not up to them. They might be able to have a say depending on how big they are or how much the showrunner cares about their opinion. But a lot of the time it's kind of like you got to come to work and do your job regardless of how you feel about what the storyline is. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to speculate further on that. I don't want to try to be like, oh, well, this person didn't want to do it because they're homophobic. This is just what I've heard in fandom spaces. It may or may not be true. Either way, these ships currently are not canon. Buddy still has the chance. Like I said, Once Upon a Time and Rizzoli and Isles and Supergirl have been off the air for quite some time, so we're never getting that, unfortunately. Write a comic, you know what I'm saying? But there is still a chance with 911. And something I see very, very often in the 911 fandom, and that I've seen in all these other fandoms that I mentioned, is a lot of people in the fandoms who don't ship these fanon ships get really, really uncomfortable when people talk about it. And that's something I really don't understand. Like personally, I just feel like if the ship is legal, if everyone is an adult, and it's, I think it's fine. There's no and about that. I think that if it is legal in the sense that everyone is adult and everyone's like consenting, whatever, I think it's fine. I don't really see what the big deal is. Like, I don't ship every fanon queer couple, but I'm not against it either. You know what I mean? I might ship some like one thing over another, but I'm never going to tell someone like, you shouldn't ship this couple because they're never going to be together. It's like, that's not the point. That's not the point. And that's what's so frustrating being in fandom spaces sometimes is people will allow their like emotions and their feelings and their opinions to try to like dictate how other people should move in that fandom. And I don't think that makes any sense. Like, why are you guys so offended when we ship two women together or two men together who might not necessarily be queer on the show or in the movie or in the book or whatever that we're like part of the fandom for? Like, who cares? What is it going to affect you in any way, in any significant way? Does us shipping Buck and Eddie change your life in any significant way? I genuinely want to know. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't know why y'all. Okay, that's fine if you don't see it. I don't see plenty of ships. There are people who to this day ship Xander and Buffy from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I will never see it for them. Ever, because I can't stand Xander, but also because in my mind, like Buffy and Faith, we belong together. Another Fanon ship, I will die on that ship. I will go down with that ship. Don't care what anybody says. But Xander and Buffy, I could never get jiggy with that. But I'm never gonna tell the people who ship Xander and Buffy to be like, you guys can't ship them. You can't ship them together because they're not together in real life. Yeah, because it's a fucking show. And it's not real life. It's not, it's one thing to ship actors together. That's weird. I do agree with that. I don't think it makes sense when people do that. And I think that can be very uncomfortable because those are real people. Those are real people. We shouldn't be trying to like write fan fiction and make fan art like with like real people. Like they are... Like that's weird, bro. That's crossing a line. To me, that's crossing a line. But I think when it comes to like these characters, I don't really see what the big deal is. I think it's fine. I really think it's fine, especially when it stays online. Now, I've heard that some people have been like binding fanfics and like gifting them to the actors who play them at conventions. I do think that's fucking weird. I do. Why would you do that? Why are you doing that? Hey, anyone out there who does that? Can you stop? That's weird, okay? That's really, really freaking weird to me. Like, even if it was canon, I would think that was weird. I remember I went to a convention for Batwoman, actually. It wasn't a Batwoman convention, but the actors who portrayed Batwoman and Sophie, who was Batwoman's love interest on the show, were there. And if I had been there standing in line, like waiting to get a picture with those actresses, and I had seen somebody with like a notebook, like a bound notebook of fan fiction about their characters, I'd be like, what are you doing? Why would you? Why? Don't do that. That's strange. That is strange. I don't want you to do that. It's probably gonna make them feel uncomfortable. Let's leave that online. The actors themselves aren't in the fandom spaces necessarily. They don't need to be a part of that world, and you're kind of like breaking the illusion when you do that. It's. I do think that's weird, but I don't think shipping in and of itself is weird. I think it's fine. I don't think it's a big deal. I love fan fiction. I have written plenty of fan fiction in my years. I was reading fan fiction last night. Yeah, I was. I read a real good fanfic before I fell asleep. I couldn't finish it because it was long. I said I'll get back to you later. But I was reading it. I have had friends who write fanfic. I have a friend who's writing a fanfiction right now that I'm waiting for an update for. I love fanfiction because I love to read. I love writing and I love reading about my favorite characters, especially when we don't get that kind of content necessarily in the movies or in the films that we know and love them from. You know what I mean? It's nice to see writers, very, very talented writers, because there are some amazing fanfic writers out there. Put them in like fun little situations and little AU setups and use different tropes with them, and have different kind of meet cutes. Like, it's fun to imagine what could have been with these characters. I think that's a lot of fun, and I don't think it's hurting anybody. You know what I mean? So I think that people who are like super, super against like fan and ships, I'm just like, you gotta get a grip, bro. You gotta get a grip. You gotta get over it, because people are allowed to do that. It's not illegal. Yeah, who knows? It might be in the future and the way this country's going, but currently it's not illegal to in your mind decide that two characters would be a really cute couple and that you want to see them kiss. I'm just saying. And I think that a lot of people who like treat people in fandom spaces who have canon ships or crack ships or anything like Fanon ships, not canon ships, Fanon ships or crack ships or anything like that. Like people who like mistreat those people or who try to like disrespect them. It's just like, bro, you gotta actually stop. Like it's unnecessary, you know? It's like, what are you accomplishing by disrespecting your like fellow like fandom members because they ship a couple that you don't or that you don't think makes any sense because it's not necessarily like real in the show or in the movie or whatever that you like. I don't think that's right. I don't think that that is cool. There are times where I do ship shame people for sure. Like when it comes to like Derek and Styles from Teen Wolf, I will never be able to get behind that because Styles was a teenager and he was in high school for like a large part of the series, for the whole series actually. I think the entire series takes place in high school for Scott and Styles and Lydia and like their age group, their class. They're in high school up until I think they're seniors in the final season of that show. And from the beginning, people were shipping Derek with Styles, and Derek is an adult. He's an adult on the show, and it always felt really icky to me because I'm just like, bro, like Styles is like 16 years old, and that show is really bad when it comes to continuity. Like, so the age of Derek is kind of like, you can kind of decide for yourself because they mess up the timeline so many times in this series. But one thing that is always true is that Derek is always an adult while Styles is a teenager. And so no matter the way you split it, no matter the way you look at it, that's always going to be inappropriate because Styles was underage. And so I'm never going to ship that. And when I see people who do ship it, I'm just like, that's inappropriate. That's weird. Now, a lot of people who shipped them were teenagers when the show came out. And I'm excluding them from this because it's very common for teenagers to look at an adult and like a teenager and think that that's cool and think that that's okay because maybe they have a friend who's dating a guy who's not in high school anymore, works down at the local gas station, or is a college student or something like that. And they don't see anything wrong with it. They're not supposed to. They're fucking kids. They're kids. Of course they're not going to think anything's wrong with it. They're fucking kids. So like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, shame on you for shipping Styles and Derek. That was wrong of you. They're children. They're children. And oftentimes, unfortunately, a lot of children, a lot of teenagers end up in unsavory situations with adults who should have known better and who were taking advantage of them or potentially grooming them. And a lot of the times teenagers think that that is an okay situation to be in. They feel like an adult because this adult wants to pay them attention. I was one of those teenagers. Unfortunately, I was one of those teenagers who was, in a situation I should not have been in with an adult, and I didn't know at the time that it was wrong because I was a child and they were telling me everything was fine and that it made sense and that it was okay, and I thought it was okay. But I got older and I realized, hey, that was messed up. That should not have happened. And a lot of teenagers who grow into adults eventually get there and they realize that. So once again, teenagers who ship Styles and Derek, you get a pass. You get a pass on this. But if you were an adult when Teen Wolf came out and you still thought that was okay, you got to get out of here, bro. You got to get out. I don't support that at all. Overall, when it comes to perfectly legal adult ships in fandom, if it's not canon, who cares? Who cares? Do you know how many times I would read fan fiction for Glee that just shipped all of the girls together? Like, when I was a teenager and I was watching Glee, I was shipping Santana with Brittany, obviously, but I was also shipping Santana with Quinn. I was shipping Santana with Rachel. I was shipping Brittany with Quinn. Like, I was shipping everybody with everybody, okay? Because that's just the way my brain worked back then, all right? And I will not apologize for it. And I think it's perfectly fine to do that if you're watching a show. Hey, these characters have chemistry, make them kiss. These characters have chemistry, make them kiss. I mean, it wasn't too long ago that we had teen shows like The Vampire Diaries where all the characters was fucking each other. Like everybody was with everyone. Everyone was hooking up with everyone anyway. So it kind of didn't matter who you shipped because at some point on the show they probably got together. So it really wasn't that big of a deal. You know what I'm saying? That was also weird because vampires, they were old. So it's kind of like, oh, you're an old man. Like you're a corpse. You're a corpse and these are teenagers. So I don't like that. But you know, that's another topic for another day. If you don't want to get jiggy with certain ships, that is perfectly fine. Okay. But don't tell us that we can't get jiggy with those ships. All right. I'm going to get jiggy with any ship that I see fit. All right. And there's literally, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You going to jump into my brain and remove those memories of me shipping those couples? No, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it, all right? And if you're upset about it, especially if you're a straight person and you're upset that us queers are shipping two straight people together and making them kiss in our fan fiction, you got to get over it, all right? We're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep being gay. We're going to keep on making straight people on TV gay in our minds, and that's it. All right? You're not going to be able to inception your way into our dreams and remove that shit, all right? They're gay. Maybe not canon gay, but they're gay. And that's it. That's all. That's going to be it for today's episode of A Queer is Talking. Thank you so much for listening to me yap. I really appreciate it. And I would really appreciate it if you could leave a like on this video, but only if you liked it. And if you did like this video and you want to see more videos just like this or better and definitely not worse, then you can subscribe to my channel. That is right. You can subscribe. That is an option for you. I also have my GoFundMe for my surgery that I need to have linked in the description. If you want to help a girl out, donate, share, whatever you can, I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys in the next video. Stop. There has to be a better way. Hey, you're still here. That's good, actually. I wanted to let you know that if you want, you can watch this video. Only if you want. Only if you want.